I have been out talking about BioWare, about Dragon Age the Vanguard, about possibly the Mass Effect upcoming potentially game for well over about a week now. I covered a lot of BioWare's problems with Dragon Age the Vanguard, with the low sales, with the uncertain future of the company because of this massive, now almost entirely confirmed flop. And I've talked about how they were extremely quiet on N7 Day without releasing anything new about a potential Mass Effect game or anything that is in development on their end, which was very troubling for the company, seeing how they obviously need some kind of a win to continue doing what they're doing. Now we've talked about how massive the financial loss will most likely be from Dragon Age the Vanguard, how they're basically doing damage control to not just expose themselves how worried they are. And with the absence of anything Mass Effect related coming directly from BioWare, it would seem that they're in a lot of trouble right now financially. However, along that time came another story about something Mass Effect related, but it wasn't a game, and it was something that was, if I remember correctly, in talks with Amazon Studios since 2021, and that is the development of a Mass Effect TV series. It was first discussed as a film, as a movie or a couple of films, and apparently it was reimagined as a TV series, which right off the bat, I think that's a better idea if you're going to do something with Mass Effect as a whole. And I'm here to basically tell you a lot of my speculations, a lot of my fears, a lot of my hopes for what is to come. Good day, ladies and gents. My name is Hiezo and I'm DiscussThing, and we have the Mass Effect TV series announced as in development by Amazon's MGM Studios. Now, before anyone starts saying, oh no, this show is going to be a flop, look at what they did with the Rings of Power, look at how they desecrate the lore and everything and just insert modern politics, I'm just going to say stop for a moment. Stop and take several minutes to listen to what I have to say, because yes, you are kind of right to be concerned about this. However, I do genuinely believe that we have something to hope for as well. Now, Amazon is kind of like Netflix. It's basically a hit or a miss with a show. They have a number of good shows that they have produced and presented. Invincible, the first 2 seasons of The Boys, the first season of Good Omens, and they have had a lot of shitty shows as well, the most notable being The Rings of Power, the biggest desecration to Tolkien lore and everything Tolkien of all time. But again, it is a hit and a miss, so while they're fully capable of absolutely destroying a franchise and destroying the lore and desecrating the storyline, the characters, the plot, and everything that a certain product stands for, they're also capable of adapting stuff quite well, even with changes that they're making in the process. So we have to look at this on both sides. We have to look at the potential for Amazon to pour their money into something good and make it well, which I do believe that Mass Effect is one of those franchises that can happen. And we also have to consider the fact that they might just bury the franchise completely if the show is ever made. And the first thing that I want to talk about as to what, in my opinion, needs to be presented in a TV series for it to be successful is the storyline. What story would you tell in Mass Effect? The issue comes from the games, because the games provide you with a vast options to choose in the sense of how the story will progress, what is going to happen, will you even succeed in defeating your enemies, and how you will do that. You have several different endings, you have a lot of different relationships, you even have a lot of leeway as to how to develop your character, Commander Shepard. So you have to take into account the looseness of the story if they're going to adapt something like this, because for me the story in the games is complete. Like anyone who has played the game has played it in their own style. They have developed the story in their own way and they have completed the games in their own way. While there is a general consensus or a small battle as to which ending is the best, and it has been discussed by players for over a decade now, you still have a lot of options in between to choose from, especially the romance options. So this is what needs to be decided. If they're to do the main story, it's going to be a bit more tricky because you have to, in order to be successful, just do the best type of story that you know that the majority of people who have played the game chose. And even though people like me, I have always chose Liara as my romance partner, a lot of other people chose something else. And when speaking to Liara and the other characters, you have to be really careful on how you portray them. Now, on one hand, inserting modern language and all the nasty things that are currently in a lot of the fantasy genres and the sci-fi genres and everything do have a bit, and I do want to emphasize, a bit more room in Mass Effect because they have always been a little bit more generous with something like trans people, non-binaries, and especially with alien species, especially with the Asari that are an all-female, but they don't have any actual males because they are in a way fluid. So you can have something like this inserted in, but in a very small dose. And this is just me being generous. Don't get me wrong that I want to see anything like that in a TV series. No, this is if we're just being extremely generous. The other thing should be how to portray their character and how to portray them physically. Now, the character needs to be deeply studied in order to get the fans on your side, because something that a lot of people who played, like almost all of the people in fact that played the Mass Effect, played it because you have a deep connection with a lot of the characters there. And I'm not just talking about Commander Shepard. Take Morton Solus as a character, for instance, which is to this day one of the saddest and most epic scenes in Mass Effect. You can also take Liara, Tali, Zora, Garrus Vakarian, Rex, Joker. Even if you take Joker, these are all deep characters that do have a lot of background to them, and you have to be able to portray that very uniquely. And as in terms of physical appearance, I do believe that you need to rely as little as possible to CGI. Because characters like Liara would be far better off if you did them with practical effects instead of complete CGI. And I want to reference something that to this day I think is one of the best makeups and the best presented makeups in movie history in and of itself. And that is Mystique from the original X-Men movies that aired in the 2000s. Like, I searched for this article because what the actress says is like 9 hours of makeup process, but what we had as an end result in terms of how good it looked, it was just amazing. It was detailed to the core, and it was amazing to see that. And you need to only sprinkle a little of CGI there to just make it shine a little bit more. You don't need full-on CGI tentacles or CGI aesthetics all over her just to make her as fake as possible. You need her to look as present as possible, and you can do that with practical effects. We have seen it in a lot of movies with a lot of different characters that do need some CGI, but choosing to have practical effects and to have prosthetics and makeup coexist with CGI and just make the things look so much better. I realized that I just spent a lot of time explaining what they should do in order to make it look good, and I haven't talked about a lot of the fears that I have for the show, and this is a section that I'm going to dedicate to now. I'm very skeptical that this show will be a success, and even though I do want it to be a massive success, I do want to see Mass Effect on the screen and just being presented amazingly. Like, I'm sure that there is a possibility for it to be done amazingly. I don't trust Amazon and I don't trust modern movie making with something like this, because I've spent a lot of time watching and reviewing the Rings of Power and it nearly broke me. And Rings of Power is the biggest desecration that can exist in TV history. This is the worst thing that someone could have done. This is worse than The Witcher. And they did it. And they're keeping their position of making another 3 seasons of this absolute garbage. And they don't seem to grasp the concept that nobody likes this show. So they're absolutely tone deaf to anything that the fans tell them. And that is my biggest fear, that whatever happens, whatever they decide to do, they will not listen to people who have actually spent hundreds and hundreds of hours playing the games, reviewing the games, replaying the games and searching for new options and just experiencing the whole universe of Mass Effect again and again. And they'll just go with someone who most probably doesn't have any idea what he's talking about, or has an agenda that they're trying to push, as in with the Rings of Power, as in with Dragon Age the Veilguard, and with a lot of other sources and mediums that have existed in the past few years. And they will just be completely tone deaf and not listening to exactly the people who they need to listen to the most, the fans, the people who will be paying with their wallets. And it all depends on what Amazon will try to do. Will they try to push a message, even though we can clearly see that it's no longer something worth fighting for even the most overzealous of woke people out there? Or will they try to actually make money out of it? Because if they choose the latter, then my suggestion, if anyone from Amazon or BioWare or whoever, anyone who can actually send over these messages does watch my video, I will say make polls. Make several polls with actual gamers, with ordinary people, with YouTube channels, with spread the message, to have the polls, to have for every type of question. Just do that as a UX research if you're designing something, and see how the people will feel about all the situations that you want to cover. If you do that, if they do that, actually, they'll have a lot less work to do with the plot, because according to that Park Place, the people that are developing the Mass Effect are quite a few, and one of them is EA's Michael Gambel, who is involved in the 5th installment of Mass Effect, reportedly. So you will have a lot of things that are taken care of you in terms of a plot when you listen to what people would want to see. And I don't want to hear anyone saying that gamers are just unoriented and everyone has different opinions, because Reddit groups, if you check forums, if you check online discussions, you'll see that a lot of people agree on a lot of things about how Mass Effect should progress. The only thing that the studio needs to do is listen to those people and just build it respectfully. And hell, even if they decide to tell an entirely original story from the games and just go in a completely different direction, as long as you keep the characters respectful and present it in a good way and not trying to, let's say, cook Commander Shepard or make some unnecessary girl bosses or just completely inconsistent stuff happen, then you will have a successful show. The only thing that is needed for this show in the end is respect and attention to what you're actually trying to do. I do hope that the studio does listen to the fans, because I'm not the only one who is making those kinds of videos about Mass Effect, because there are millions of fans that would want to see that. And I do hope that the studio does listen and does pay attention and just make the characters well, make the storyline great, whatever storyline they try to choose, either from the games, either from the books, either from anything else that they're trying to say, even if they're going to go even further back. The main thing to do is just keep it respectful, keep it in the style of Mass Effect, not Andromeda, and basically work with the mindset of pleasing the fans, because this is exactly what you're out here to do. Creating something to please the audience and to have them return, to have them watch, and to have them be happy, because that's basically your job. If Amazon can do that, if they can provide us with that, I think BioWare, Amazon, EA, they will once again regain at least a bit of trust from the fans. We don't have any plot summaries yet, we don't have anything additional as information, so what I just said are mainly speculations, fears, hopes, desires, if you will, and until anything else comes out as information. This is all we have, folks. This is all we can do. Just speculate and just hope, and if possible keep a positive mindset, even though it's very, very hard with what has happened recently concerning BioWare, the gaming industry, the entertainment industry, and all of that. It's really hard to be positive, but let's try. Anyways, that's all I have for this video today. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Do you think that this show, whenever it gets developed and whenever we get more information, will flop by the fans, or does it have the potential to actually be something good? Thank you for sticking by for so long. If you did, click the like and subscribe button to follow my channel and to support me. If you want to support me even directly, click the join button and become a member of one of the 3 tiers that I've put out with you with amazing perks. And if you want to join the cause in helping me and my significant other help homeless animals and animals in shelters, click the Patreon link down in the description below and subscribe there. Thank you very much. I've been Hell, so this was DiscussThing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers and stay fresh.